Hello everybody, welcome to today's episode of House of Tallysha with me, Isabel Tallysha-Soares. On today's episode, I am going to talk to you about something that crossed my mind or came to my mind during lockdown. As so many of us, I did a major cleaning to my bookshelves here at home in my study, and I came across my master's dissertation, which coincidentally is 20 years this year, so long ago. And for my master's dissertation, I focused on the adventure novel. And I'm going to talk to you about the adventure novel in more detail today because I think it is so fantastic. And the adventure novel that I bring to you today is King Solomon's Mines. Actually, King Solomon's Mines is the stepping stone for the adventure novels as we know them today. I mean, there would not be Indiana Jones if there hadn't been King Solomon's Mines, for example, if it hadn't been for Henry Rider Haggard, the author of King Solomon's Mines, and so many more adventure novels. Well, I am a particular fan of Indiana Jones and adventures. I grew up with that. And when I got the chance to write a dissertation and to research for a dissertation, I concentrated on quest novels, adventure novels, empire novels, as they are also called. That is, there is always a treasure, there is always something that triggers a group of heroes or a hero to go and find them. In the case of King Solomon's Mines is King Solomon's Mines. The mines that are mythical and presumably belonged to the mythical or the biblical King Solomon. But all things in due course. Well, there hadn't been any King Solomon's Mines, which was published in 1885, imagine, so 19th century, late 19th century, if there hadn't been for this book, Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, which was published in 1883. This is the archetypical adventure novel. So there is this treasure island, there is a hunt for a treasure, there is a hidden treasure, there's a treasure map, and all the adventures. And this was a bestseller back in the day, as it still is a bestseller. And Rider Haggard had a bet with someone, I think it was his brother or a close friend, that he could write something as good as Treasure Island. And the bet was 5 shillings, and he went to write King Solomon's Mines. He wrote King Solomon's Mines really, really quick, in a matter of weeks. And it took the book to a number of publishing houses, and it kept being rejected because they didn't see any potential in the book, in another adventure novel, or in the adventures that were here in the book. So eventually he managed to publish, and so in 1885 the book came out to major success, immediate best-selling status, catapulting Rider Haggard to one of the best writers of his generation as far as this kind of books, these fantasy books, were concerned. And I've got many King Solomon's Mines. I've got this edition by World's Classics, and I've got this Penguin Classics edition. And this is the stepping stone for my dissertation. So what's the story behind King Solomon's Mines? Well, there's a group that is composed of 3 British adventurers. Well, one of them is more adventurous than the other. So there is Sir Henry Curtis, there is Captain Good, and there is Alan Quatermain. They are the 3 main characters. Alan Quatermain was a hunter, an adventurer who lived in what is today South Africa. He lived in Durban, and he is sought after by Sir Henry Curtis, whose brother had last been seen on the quest for King Solomon's mines, and then people lose track of him, lose sight of him, and nobody knows where he is. And he is joined by Captain Good, who is his friend, and they seek the help of Allan Quatermain to go in search for Sir Henry's brother. And they, Allan Quatermain says, okay, I will go, but we need to have porters and to go deep into the wildernesses of Africa in search for Sir Henry's brother. And amongst the porters, there will be this handsome, wonderful African called Mbapa. And Allan Quatermain has a map, the real treasure map, that he doesn't make much of, but he finds it's going to be useful on their quest. And this is the archetypical map of adventure novels. So there are all the trappings of reality. There are geographic features. There's the north and south. Very iconic for King Solomon's Mines, the book Sheba's Breasts. So Henry Rider Haggard made all the trappings of this fantastic, phenomenal place full of mythology. So if there were King Solomon's Mines, okay, there had to be some mention of Sheba, because if you know your Bible, King Solomon was visited by the Queen of Sheba, and presumably he fell in love with her, and so on and so forth. So there is this map that they take and they venture into the African hinterland, into the wilderness in search for Sir Henry's brother. Lots of adventures, and they get to Kukuanaland. Kukuanaland is ruled by King Twala, who is counseled by a hag, a witch called Gagul. And King Twala is merciless, and he has his kingdom under a very despotic rule. More adventures, and turns out that Mbapa, the porter that came along with Sir Henry, Captain Good at Allan Quatermain, is the rightful king of Kukuanaland, and he is Ignossi, the son of the former rightful king of Kukuanaland. So this is the archetypical adventure novel. King Solomon's Mines, in the myths related to the biblical King Solomon, are mythical, and they are presumably the place where King Solomon took all the gold to which enriched the temple in Jerusalem. Those mines were never found, and so they have given rise to a number of speculation and all the myths and legends around them. So if you want very good reading and you want to go back to how this genre started, this is a good place to start, King Solomon's Mines. And if you want to go before that, then Treasure Island. But they are a bit distinct, because Treasure Island has more to do with the more typical stories of islands, tropical islands and pirates and the hidden treasure. And this is more the adventures in wildernesses and coming across peoples and cultures that are lost in the jungles. And so this is a fantasy world, and you have the hero bringing all the trappings of civilization and, well-doing to another place. King Solomon's Mines was so well received at the time. It was such a bestseller that Rider Haggard decided that you would have to write more adventures for Alan Quatermain, this larger-than-life hero. And so he wrote what are called today the Alan Quatermain series. One other book was actually this one, Alan Quatermain. I am a collector of old books and first editions. Some books I inherited, and so I have this acquired taste in collecting old books because I grew up surrounded by 19th century first editions and very old book copies. But because I like the novels by Henry Rider Haggard so much, when I go to London, I go to Cecil Court, where all the bookshops and second-hand bookstores are, and I try to find treasures. And so I've got here a very early edition of Alan Quatermain, which is, it's not exactly a sequel to King Solomon's Mines, but it is one of the books on the series of Alan Quatermain, which was published, in fact, after King Solomon's Mines, because that is the first book. And this is a very nice edition. And here you have a picture of Alan Quatermain. And the books are written in a way that you do not know if Alan Quatermain is true or not. And you get that, did this man actually exist? Well, it's totally the brainchild of Henry Rider Haggard. And this, I was trying to look for the date, so February 1940, so a very old edition of Alan Quatermain. And so I hope I have triggered your curiosity for adventure novels. This is it for today's episode, surrounded by early specimens of the adventure novel book. Well, I am Isabel Tallysha-Soares. It's always a pleasure to be here sharing things with you, either books or travels or impressions of this and that. I look forward to seeing you next time here on the channel, House of Tallysha, and as always, you can subscribe the channel, leave comments and suggestions of contents that you might want to see featured here. And as for me, it's all for now, and I will be seeing you soon. I'll be waiting for you.